Hey everyone, welcome to the Changeover. We are coming at you live on this beautiful Monday, powered by secondserveaces.com, your absolute gold standard for deep, tactical tennis analysis. Today, we are diving straight into the emotional red clay of Estoril, where a true Legends era just came to a heartbreaking close. Plus, we've got some massive tactical breakdowns of the upcoming Hamburg final and a highly anticipated clash of the next-gen stars. I'm Elena, joined as always by the absolute best crew in tennis media, Bhaskar, Julian, Leo, and Arthur. Let's get right into the action.
Yes, welcome in everyone. I am so hyped for today's show, though I have to admit, my own backhand is feeling about as reliable as a dial-up modem after watching these pros glide on the clay this weekend.
Your backhand is a separate tragedy, Bhaskar. But what we saw in Estoril, that was a battle of pure attrition. Stan Wawrinka. The man is a mountain, but every mountain eventually feels the weather.
Indeed. It was existential, really. Watching Roman Andres Buruchaga take down Stan the man 7-6, 4-6, 6-3. It felt like watching the final slow-motion rotation of a great wind turbine.
Oh, Arthur, please, let us not drift into the realm of wind power just yet. But you are correct about the gravity. This was the final clay court match of Wawrinka's illustrious career. A surface where he once conquered Paris.
Like, literally, Julian. It's so wild to think about. But if you look at the actual numbers, and oh, by the way, my laptop is totally fine, unlike Arthur's, which literally turned into a paperweight during our pre-show meeting.
It did not turn into a paperweight, Elena. It merely chose a moment of profound silence. The blue screen was rather peaceful, actually, like a digital sky.
It was a disaster, Arthur. You were scribbling notes on a napkin. But look, back to Stan. Buruchaga didn't just win this. He dragged Stan into deep water. The physical toll of those long, heavy rallies on the Portuguese clay, it was just too much for a 39-year-old body.
The comments on secondserveaces.com were absolutely flooded after this match. Fans are devastated. One reader, Clay Court King, wrote that watching Stan's backhand miss wide in the third set felt like watching a classic sports car stall at a green light.
That's actually a super accurate analogy. Like, in the third set, Stan's first serve percentage dropped to 48%. You just can't defend second serves against a guy who is 22 and hungry like Buruchaga.
It is the classic changing of the guard. Buruchaga, of course, carrying that heavy sporting pedigree, his father Jorge winning the World Cup for Argentina in '86. One can see that same competitive grit in the boys' movement.
Yes, the ghost of '86. But let us not forget the sound of Stan's racket. Even in defeat, that heavy, thudding resonance of his ball striking. It's a timbre we may never hear again on the red dirt.
He gave everything he had, Arthur. But in the dirt, you can't fake the fitness. Buruchaga just had more gas in the tank.
It really highlights what secondserveaces.com is all about. That deep AI-driven tactical analysis. If you check the site, the heat maps show exactly how Buruchaga pinned Stan into that backhand corner, forcing him to hit on the run.
Totally. Like, the data doesn't lie. Speaking of tactical matchups, can we talk about the Hamburg final? Because Tamara Korpach and Anna Bondar is, well, it's a statistical puzzle.
The classic head-to-head dominance. Korpach leads 4-0. In tennis, a 4-0 record is a psychological fortress. It is very difficult for the trailing player to scale those walls.
It's a mental lock, Julian. Bondar steps on the court knowing she's lost 4 times. She has to change her entire approach, shake up her patterns, or she's dead in the water.
Or perhaps she must embrace the blank slate. Memories can be chains, Leo. If Bondar can play as if the past 4 matches were merely dreams.
Okay, Arthur, I don't think she's going to meditate her way out of Korpach's heavy topspin. Like, at all. The real issue for Bondar is that Korpach's ball sits right in her strike zone on this slow Hamburg clay.
Exactly. Our preview on secondserveaces.com actually highlights how Korpach uses high looping forehands to push Bondar behind the baseline. It's a brutal matchup for Bondar's flatter ground strokes.
Indeed. Clay demands patience, a virtue that modern players often lack. They want the quick point, the flashy winner. But Hamburg in July is heavy. It requires tactical maturity.
It requires legs, Julian. You've got to be willing to suffer for 3 hours.
Korpatch has that grit.
She loves the dirt.
There is a certain beauty in the suffering, I suppose. But let us look at Estoril again. The upcoming final there. Van Asch against Gilles Arnaud Blocks. A clash of youth, of contrasting physical architecture.
Oh, this one is so fascinating. Like, Blocks is huge, 1.93 meters. But Van Asch hits this incredibly low, flat backhand. It's going to be a nightmare for Blocks to bend those knees constantly.
A classic leverage problem. The taller player always struggles with the low, skidding ball on clay. If Van Asch can consistently find that depth, Blocks will be hitting up, giving Van Asch the chance to dictate.
The traffic on this preview is going crazy today. Everyone wants to see if Blocks can claim his maiden ATP title. He's got that massive serve, but against a returner as sharp as Van Asch, he's going to need more than just power.
Serve won't save you on slow clay if you can't back it up with the first volley. Blocks has to come forward. He has to use his size to smother the net. Otherwise, Van Asch will just run him side to side.
To run. To be chased. It is the eternal struggle of the clay court. Van Asch is like a chess player, quietly placing his pieces, while Blocks is the broadsword.
Like, totally. But I think Van Asch's experience in these longer rallies is going to be the deciding factor. My model, which I actually had to run on my phone because of Arthur's laptop situation, gives Van Asch a 58% edge.
Mobile analytics, I love it. That's dedication, Elena. And for all of our listeners who want the full detailed breakdowns, head over to secondserveaces.com. We've got the complete tactical previews, head-to-head stats, and expert predictions for both of these incredible finals.
Yes, do visit the site. It is far more reliable than Arthur's memory, or indeed, his laptop.
My memory is a temple, Julian, albeit one with occasionally drafty corridors.
More like a haunted house, Arthur. But we love you anyway.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back to talk about the rest of the week's action.
Okay. So, speaking of mobile analytics and things that absolutely break our website's traffic servers, we have to talk about Monte Carlo. I mean, my inbox is literally melting.
Meltdown is the right word, Bhaskar. What we saw out there was a complete and utter physical capitulation. A total blackout.
Like, literally, Matteo Berrettini just double-bageled Daniil Medvedev, 6-0, 6-0, on clay. I had to refresh my phone screen like 15 times because I thought it was a glitch.
A double bagel at this level is exceedingly rare. But on the dirt of Monte Carlo, it is practically unheard of for a top 10 seed. It is, frankly, an embarrassment to the craft.
It was existential dread personified in neon tennis apparel. Medvedev looked like a man trying to sweep back the incoming tide with a broom, a very fragile graphite broom.
He didn't want to be there, Arthur. From the third game of the first set, his body language was completely cooked. He was playing with heavy feet, no intensity, just throwing in the towel.
But wait, Leo, look at the tactical breakdown. Matteo was hitting his forehand with so much heavy topspin. Like, the bounce was exploding way above Daniil's comfort zone, especially on that backhand wing.
Yeah, and we all know Daniil's relationship with clay is, let's call it, highly toxic. Our comment section on secondserveaces.com is absolutely roasting his movement.
His movement on clay has always lacked the proper sliding mechanics. He treats the clay as if it were a slippery hardwood floor, rather than utilizing the slide to recover to the center.
He looks homeless on it, like a wanderer who has lost his map and is forced to tread on hot coals. Berrettini, conversely, was gladiatorial.
Matteo was punishing him. Every short ball was met with absolute violence. That's the ex-trainer in me talking. You see a guy struggling to find his footing, you run him ragged.
Exactly. And like Berrettini's drop shots were actually working. Usually Medvedev can cover those, but he was so deep behind the baseline, he was practically in the front row of the stands.
We actually have an article up on secondserveaces.com right now dissecting the exact spin rates. Matteo was averaging over 3000 RPM on his forehand.
Which is precisely how one must play on clay. It is about heavy revolutions, depth, and patience. Medvedev possesses none of those virtues on this specific surface.
Patience is a luxury when you feel the court is actively conspiring against you. I remember his post-match presser, or rather, the lack of one. He looked utterly hollowed out.
He checked out, plain and simple. You can't do that. I don't care how much you hate the dirt. You owe it to the crowd. You owe it to yourself to fight for at least one game.
Oh, come on, Leo. Like when you're down 5-0 in the second and nothing is working and your shoes are full of dust, sometimes you just want the nightmare to end.
I think all of us with a bad backhand can relate to just wanting to get off the court. But let's shift gears, because there's an even bigger storm brewing off the court.
Ah, yes, the rumblings from the locker room. Jannik Sinner is leading what can only be described as a historic guild revolt against the Grand Slam establishment.
A revolt of the gilded youth. Sinner, who usually looks like a quiet, red-headed angel, is suddenly wielding a pitchfork. It's fascinating.
And about time. These players are the ones putting their bodies on the line, playing through injuries, and they're getting a tiny fraction of the pie. A 16% escalator is a joke.
Totally. Like the US Open makes hundreds of millions of dollars, and the players are threatening a literal boycott. That is massive. Sinner has real leverage here.
It's true. If the top players actually band together and refuse to play New York, the tournament is dead in the water. The broadcast partners would pull out immediately.
While I understand the financial grievances, a boycott of a historic institution like the US Open feels terribly uncouth. There must be a more academic way to resolve this.
Academic? Julian, the suits only understand one language, and that's money. If you don't threaten their bottom line, they will keep feeding you crumbs.
It is the classic struggle of labor versus capital. Sinner is playing the role of the union boss, which is highly unexpected given his otherwise serene disposition.
But like, Roland Garros actually blink first. They're already offering historic revenue sharing to prevent this. Sinner's strategy is already working.
It really is. We are tracking all the updates on this labor dispute on secondserveaces.com. Make sure to check out our analytical breakdown of where the tournament revenue actually goes.
If Roland Garros has capitulated, then the pressure on the USTA must be immense. One hopes they find a resolution before the sport is fractured permanently.
Good. Let it fracture, if it means the journeyman on tour can actually afford a traveling coach and a physio. That's the real battle here.
If the top players actually refuse to take the court, the entire broadcast apparatus crumbles. It's not just about the US Open mixed doubles anymore. Have you seen the latest cables from Paris?
Oh, it is absolute chaos behind the scenes. Our traffic on secondserveaces.com practically doubled when the Roland Garros news broke. Sinner and Sabalenka are literally forcing the French Open's hand.
Like, totally. They are not messing around this time. It's a whole different ballgame when you have the actual reigning Grand Slam champions leading the charge, instead of just journeymen.
It's about time they realized their own leverage. For decades, these majors have treated players like replaceable actors in their theater. But without Sinner, without Sabalenka, who is buying those expensive corporate box seats?
It is a fascinating study in collective behavior, a sudden awakening of the proletariat on the red clay. Though, speaking of Paris, my screen is completely blank. My laptop's memory is entirely gone today, so I am relying on you, Bhaskar, to feed me the actual numbers.
I got you covered, Arthur. The French Open is apparently proposing a historic revenue-sharing model directly to Larry Scott to head off the boycott threat. They are terrified of a dark tournament.
Larry Scott. Now, there is a name that conjures up complex administrative memories, but from a structural perspective, this is unprecedented. Roland Garros has historically been the most conservative, fiscally protective of the four majors.
Right, but their hands are tied. My database shows that the top 10 players generate over 60% of the tournament's global media value. If Sabalenka walks, the women's draw loses its absolute physical anchor.
Exactly. You can't replace that intensity. You can't just sub in a lucky loser and expect the fans to not notice the drop in quality. The physical reality of what Sabalenka brings, it's irreplaceable.
There is a certain poetic justice to it, using the threat of absence to demand presence in the financial ledgers. Sinner's leverage is quiet, almost gentle, but steel-tipped. It's like his slide on the clay, perfectly timed.
The comments on secondserveaces.com are completely split though. Half the fans are saying pay the players their fair share, and the other half are worried the ticket prices are going to skyrocket even further to fund this.
A classic economic transfer of costs. If the tournaments concede a larger share of their broadcast bounty, they will inevitably squeeze the gate-paying public. It is pedantic, perhaps, but we must look at the macroeconomics here.
Oh, come on, Dad. I mean, Julian. The majors have massive margins. They've been hoarding the digital streaming revenue for years without passing it down. The spreadsheet doesn't lie. Their overhead hasn't scaled nearly as fast as their media rights.
She's right. They're building luxury villages and retractable roofs, while the players who are actually destroying their joints on the court are fighting for basic pension increases. It's a joke.
It reminds me of, well, before my screen went black, I was reading about the sheer physical toll of the clay season. If you are going to slide until your hips scream, you want to know the estate is secure.
And that's why the players are aligning. Sinner and Sabalenka aren't just fighting for themselves, they're representing the entire locker room's frustration. This Roland Garros proposal could change the sport's financial structure forever. Speaking of value, guys, the traffic on secondserveaces.com is absolutely exploding today because of these massive breaking announcements. We have to talk about Montreal.
Oh, like the total devastation of the National Bank Open draw? Yeah, my notifications have been going completely mental.
Exactly. Jannik Sinner and Novak Djokovic both withdrawing. It completely reshapes the entire summer hardcourt swing, and the fans in the comment section are losing their minds.
It's the transition, Bhaskar. Going from the grass of Wimbledon back to the heavy clay of the Olympics, and then immediately trying to pivot to North American hardcourts? It's a brutal, unforgiving grind.
It is an existential whiplash for the joints. The clay demands slide and slide, a soft, yielding surface, and then, suddenly, you are slamming your knees into unyielding, painted concrete.
Well, Arthur, from a purely physiological perspective, the knee joint is simply not designed to absorb those lateral shearing forces when transitioning so rapidly between surfaces.
Right, Dad. But look at the actual math of it. Sinner's withdrawal also means his bid to sweep all 9 ATP Masters 1000 titles in a single season is officially dead.
That was such a massive storyline. He was on track to do something truly historic, and now, poof, it's gone.
Because the body always collects its debts, Bhaskar. Sinner has been redlining his physical engine since Melbourne. You can't just keep pushing the RPMs into the red without a cylinder blowing.
I am trying to recall. My laptop screen is currently a dark, silent void of dead pixels. But didn't Novak also hint that his knee rehabilitation was a delicate, fragile thing?
Indeed, Arthur. Djokovic's meniscus surgery was only weeks ago. To expect him to slide on clay, then immediately subject that newly repaired cartilage to the high-friction stops of Montreal's Deco turf, it would be sheer folly.
Total madness. Our analytics on secondserveaces.com actually projected a 50% spike in injury risk for players who played deep into the Olympic clay draw before flying to Canada.
That article on the site is getting so many shares. The tactical depth our writers put into explaining the kinetic chain during surface transitions is incredible. It's why people trust secondserveaces.com.
It's because we don't just give them superficial headlines, Bhaskar. We talk about the real physical toll, the grit, the tape on the ankles, the ice baths.
There is a poetic tragedy to it. The pursuit of perfection ending not because of a lack of will, but because the biological machine simply refuses to cooperate.
It is a scheduling crisis, plain and simple. The tennis calendar is an overcrowded Victorian train station, and everyone is tripping over their own luggage trying to catch the express.
Or like, they could just not play Gstaad and Bastad right after Wimbledon. But wait, some people actually did that, and they actually won.
Yes, let's talk about Stefanos Tsitsipas conquering the high altitude in Gstaad and Andrei Rublev taking the title in Bostad. Talk about a different kind of grind.
Rublev is a machine. The guy lives for the battle. He doesn't care if it's clay, grass, or parking lot asphalt. He just wants to hit the cover off the ball.
But Gstaad is different. The air is thin. The ball flies like a frightened bird. It defies the normal laws of gravity.
It does indeed, Arthur. At high altitude, the atmospheric pressure is significantly lower, which reduces aerodynamic drag. The ball travels faster, yet spins less effectively because there is less air resistance for the felt to grab.
Thanks for the physics lesson, Julian, but Tsitsipas actually adjusted his string tension by 2 full pounds to compensate. My data feed showed his heavy topspin RPMs were still incredibly consistent despite the thin air.
Meanwhile, my club stringer doesn't even know what altitude is. But seriously, what about the new ATP ball trial they were testing?
Don't get me started on the balls, Bhaskar. They're trying to standardize them, but every tournament still feels like they're playing with yellow rocks one week and wet sponges the next.
I remember, or perhaps I am hallucinating, a piece on secondserveaces.com analyzing how the felt degradation rate on these new trial balls affects the player's wrists.
The constant switching of ball specifications is the true culprit behind this modern epidemic of wrist and elbow tendinitis. It is highly irregular.
Totally. Maybe if they stopped changing the ball specs every single week to please different sponsors, our spreadsheets wouldn't have to constantly adjust the baseline speed ratings.
Well, whatever the balls are doing, the fans are loving the deep dive breakdowns. We've got full tactical maps of both Tsitsipas's and Rublev's finals up on the site right now.
That's where the real tennis minds go, Bhaskar. If you want to understand how Rublev managed to dominate the baseline exchanges in Bostad, you need to see those shot direction charts.
It is a digital sanctuary. Even if my own laptop has decided to enter a state of permanent, silent meditation today.
Don't worry, Arthur. We'll keep sharing our screens so you can see the beautiful, beautiful data.
Don't get me started on the ball trial, Elena, because we have bigger fish to fry. Literally. Jannik Sinner's 2026 season is staring us right in the face. 44-3, people! That is not just a hot streak. That is a physical demolition of the tour.
It is absolutely insane, Leo. The Golden Masters milestone alone had our comment section on secondserveaces.com absolutely melting down. Our traffic spike yesterday was off the charts. But everyone is still obsessed with that one blemish.
Oh, you mean the shocking Rolos collapse? Because honestly, my spreadsheets were practically crying during that clay match. The numbers did not make sense based on his hardcourt metrics.
Well, clay is a different beast entirely, Elena. It demands a certain patience, a willingness to suffer that perhaps his streamlined, hard-court optimized movement patterns weren't quite prepared for on that specific afternoon in Paris. It was a tactical unraveling.
A collapse, yes. But isn't there something beautifully human about it? To be so close to absolute, unblemished perfection in the Golden Masters, only to be reminded of one's mortality by the red clay. It's like trying to paint a masterpiece but realizing you forgot the color blue.
I don't care about the color blue, Arthur. I care about the legs. To go 44-3, the lung capacity you need, the recovery protocols, his team must have him on some next-level physical conditioning. You don't just stumble into a Golden Masters season without your body being a temple.
Or, he's just really good at hitting a tennis ball. But seriously, the tactical depth on secondserveaces.com shows how his court positioning changed. He's taking the ball so much earlier now, even compared to last year.
Exactly, and our readers are loving the breakdown of his first serve placement. But let's pivot for a second, because we have to talk about the newly announced LA 2028 Olympic reforms. This is huge news.
Ah, yes. The shift to the Carson venue, and more importantly, the introduction of these new wildcard rules. It represents a fascinating structural shift in how the ITF and IOC are approaching legacy players.
Carson. A venue shift. I once got terribly lost near that complex during a junior event years ago. I ended up staring at a storage container for 20 minutes, wondering if it was an art installation. But the wild cards. Venus Williams. The prospect of her playing in 2028 is poetic, an echo of a different era.
It's a grind, Arthur. 2028? Venus will be, what, 48? I respect the hustle. I respect the legend. But the Olympics shouldn't be a lifetime achievement award. The physical toll of playing at that level, even on a home court in LA, is no joke.
Oh, come on, Leo. Like, who wouldn't want to see Venus in LA? The data shows the marketing impact alone is massive. And with the new wildcard rules, it's not like she's stealing a spot from some rising star who earned it through the ranking grind anyway.
That's the main point of our breakdown on the site. SecondServeAces.com actually has a great piece up right now analyzing how these wildcard reforms protect the integrity of the draw while still allowing for these massive, crowd-pleasing legacy entries.
Let us hope it doesn't degrade the competitive spirit of the event. The Olympics should represent the absolute pinnacle of current athletic achievement, not a nostalgia trip. Though I must admit, the romantic in me finds the narrative compelling.
Romance doesn't win gold medals, Julian. Sweat does. Speaking of sweat, did you guys see what happened in Yash? Mayar Sharif taking the title, but man, another retirement.
Yeah, Paula Badosa retiring at 6'4" for love. It's like so frustrating for the fans. My data model had this as a 3-set thriller and then, boom, physical breakdown.
A match that ends in silence rather than a roar. It always feels a bit incomplete. Sharif gets her second WTA title, which is a monumental achievement, but there's always that lingering asterisk in the minds of the cynical, isn't there?
It's tough on Badosa too. The comment section on the match report was really sympathetic. She's been fighting so hard to get back to her peak form, and to have her body betray her when she was so close to another deep run. It's just brutal.
Let us not diminish Sharif's accomplishment, however. To be in a position to lead 6-4, 4-love, against a player of Badosa's caliber requires immense tactical discipline. Sharif's heavy clay court forehand was doing serious damage before the retirement.
Exactly, Julian. You have to physically force your opponent into those deep water situations where their body finally says, no more. Sharif earned that trophy by being the more resilient athlete on the day. Period.
Totally. And the ranking impact is going to be huge for Sharif moving forward. She's putting herself in a great position for the upcoming hardcourt swing if she can carry this clay confidence over.
We've got the full tactical breakdown of that IRC final and the updated WTA rankings live on the site. Make sure you guys head over to secondserveaces.com to read the complete analysis and join the debate in the comments.
The absolute pinnacle of athletic achievement, indeed. But let us pivot from the grand, 5-ringed stage to something far more gritty, far more developmental.
Like, are we talking about Arthur Fee? Because, oh my God, that partnership with Goran Ivanisevic is like the most fascinating coaching move of the season.
It really is. We actually just published a massive tactical breakdown of this on secondserveaces.com. Goran is openly backing Phils for a top 5 breakthrough even with the recent injury setbacks.
Look, Goran knows what it takes to build a monster serve and a ruthless mindset. But Fils? The kid has the physical tools, but his movement patterns can be so erratic. It's like he's trying to overpower the court instead of working it.
There is a certain violent poetry to Fils' game. He plays as if he is trying to dent the very atmosphere. But Goran Goran represents the economy of violence, the single devastating blow.
Let us not get too carried away with the metaphysics of it, Arthur. Tactically, Ivanisevic's primary task will be stabilizing Filz's second serve. It is far too attackable under pressure.
Exactly. Like, if you look at the numbers on my... Well, actually, my laptop is fine, but Arthur's crashed, so I'm looking at his scribbled notes here. Fee's second serve win percentage drops by almost 12% when he's down a break point.
Arthur, is this notebook written in actual calligraphy? I can barely read your handwriting.
It is fountain pen, Bhaskar, a medium nib. It respects the page, unlike my laptop, which decided to enter a state of permanent digital nirvana right before we went on air.
Forget the fountain pens. Let's talk about the physical grind. Goran is going to put Fis through the ringer. If Fis wants that top 5 spot, he has to survive the training blocks. No more soft exits.
But like, is Goran's style too rigid for him? Fis is so instinctive. If you try to turn him into a clinical, mechanical server, do you lose that, like, raw, explosive energy that makes him so dangerous?
A valid concern, Elena. However, discipline is not the enemy of genius. It is its framework. Look at what Goran did for Novak's serve in those later years. It became an absolute weapon of precision.
And that's exactly what our tactical piece on secondserveaces.com highlights. It's not about changing Filz's identity, it's about giving him a reliable structure when his plan A starts to misfire.
He needs that structure. Otherwise, he's just spinning his wheels. Speaking of spinning wheels, though, did you guys see the Bostad final matchup? Rublev versus Darderi. Talk about a heavy topspin nightmare.
Oh my god, yes. Like, the RPMs on that court are going to be absolutely insane. Darderi is the defending champion there, and he literally lives to make people suffer on clay.
It is a matchup of two different philosophies of clay court suffering. Rublev hits through the clay with sheer, angry, linear force, while Darderi uses the surface like a trampoline, launching the ball into orbit.
Darderi's heavy topspin forehand is particularly troublesome on that Bostad surface. It grips the clay and jumps above the shoulder. For someone like Rublev, who prefers to strike the ball at hip height, this is a technical nightmare.
Rublev has to take the ball on the rise. If he lets Darderi push him back 3 meters behind the baseline, he's dead in the water. He has to step up, take the punishment, and dictate.
Our community on the site is totally split on this one. The comment section is going wild. Half the people think Rublev's class will carry him through, but the clay court purists are all over Darderi's defensive movement.
Like, Darderi's sliding is on another level. He doesn't just slide to defend. He slides to recover his positioning instantly. Rublev's lateral movement on clay can get, like, a little clunky when he gets frustrated.
Frustration is Rublev's shadow. It follows him everywhere. If Darderi can extend the rallies past 9 shots, the shadow begins to take over the court.
Let us hope Andre keeps his composure. It is painful to watch him wage war against his own racket strings when things go slightly awry.
Composure is earned in the gym, Julian. If you know your body can handle a 3-hour war, you don't panic when you lose a break. You just dig in.
Speaking of partnerships and digging in, what is the deal with Venus Williams and Alexandra Yila splitting up right before the DC Open doubles?
Yeah, that was a shocker. They were scheduled to play doubles together and then suddenly, boom, a split right before the draw came out. Our news desk just updated the piece on secondserveaces.com with the new draw details.
A doubles partnership is a delicate ecosystem. It is a marriage of convenience, of geometry, and of ego. When the chemistry is slightly off, the entire structure collapses.
Indeed. Ela is a rising talent who needs court time and rhythm, while Venus, at this stage of her legendary career, plays on her own terms. The scheduling and tactical alignment must be incredibly difficult to manage.
Doubles is about patterns. If you aren't practicing those patterns together day in, day out, you're just 2 singles players sharing a court. It doesn't work at the professional level anymore.
Totally. Like Ila's baseline game is super solid, but her net coverage is still a work in progress. Venus is obviously a master at the net, but she can't cover the entire court like she used to. It was just a weird tactical fit from the start.
It's a shame though. The fan excitement around that pairing was huge. The ticket sales for their opening matches were soaring. But hey, the new draws are out and we've got a full breakdown of how this reshapes the entire doubles field in DC.
The crowd always longs for the myth of the past to guide the promise of the future. But the tennis court is a cruel place for mythology. Speaking of partnerships and the inevitable, tragic fracturing of them, my mind drifts to Switzerland, to Gstaad, where Stefanos Tsitsipas was forced into a most solitary, grueling communion with the red clay.
Oh my god, Arthur. Are we seriously starting with the poetic clay stuff? But yeah, that Gstaad final against Rafael Collignon was, well, it was a total physical grind.
It really was. 6-4, 6-7, 6-3. Our readers on secondserveaces.com were going wild in the comments section during that second set tie break. Everyone thought Stefanos was going to fold.
Fold? No way. Not on clay, not this time. He had to dig deep into the reserves. Collignon was playing redline tennis, pushing him back, but Steph's physical conditioning held up. That's what I love to see.
It was a test of patience, truly. Tsitsipas has often been accused of lacking a certain tactical flexibility when his primary weapons are neutralized. Yet, on the high-altitude clay of Gstaad, his heavy topspin found its mark when it mattered most.
And that's a wrap for this week. Head to secondserveaces.com for the full deep dives on every match we covered today.
See you next time on The Changeover. Cheers.